purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple like Prince.
Charges of federal orders, incredible markers, indelible sparkers, immeasurable. Sparking the medical carcass on pedestal. Sharks for that revenue, hawks for what's edible. Heart full of vegetables, art at the festivals. Heart no cholesterol, sharp on those episodes. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. Go independent like Prince. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. I like when summer begins. Whoa, I'm on 100%. Red and blue, purple like Prince.
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode, Underground Railroad Productions. This is your host, Brother Rich. I'm sure many of you know of the man on the right, Professor James Smalls. Man, welcome to my platform.
Thank you, Brother Rich. Good morning. Good to be here. Hotep, Lafayette, all of the good greetings.
And the brother to the left, introduce yourself, brother.
Yeah, I'm Brother Rock with Men of Respect, also Happy Films, and Team Success.
Yes, and pardon the one microphone family. I don't need 1,000 comments about the microphone. We getting another one tomorrow. They'll leave 1,000 comments, over and over. So, but it's a pleasure to have you two in the studio today.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people, when they got introduced to consciousness and they see Professor James Smalls, they seen you on Hidden Colors. Mm-hmm. You did a magnificent job on Hidden Colors. It's a documentary that changed the world. Mm-hmm. It changed the way we look at Black history. It changed the way documentaries were made about Black history. Ever since then, a lot of the documentaries followed that blueprint that was successful, which, it's sort of like Apple and iPhone. iPhone made this blueprint, then Samsung and everybody followed the blueprint. Yeah. So Hidden Colors is like the iPhone of Black documentaries. There's a new documentary coming out. It's called Hapi. And looking at the lineup, man, I know some of the individuals. I'm going to let y'all say everybody that's on the panel, but it looks very interesting. This documentary looks like it's going to be another huge success, and we're here to talk on it. So let me just read what it says. Okay, I got the flyer in front of me, and I'm going to put it on the screen as the people watching. It says, we brought together some of the brightest minds in psychology, history, and business to explore the big picture, tying together the history of the world economic development to our present socio-economic condition. Brother Professor James Smalls, I want to let you start it out. What can we look forward to with this film, Hapi, and in terms of economics, socio-economic condition in the Black community?
Right. Starting out, the term Hapi is the name the ancestors in Kemet used for the Nile River. And it was the Nile River, or the Hapi River, that brought the economic wealth and development that we saw that became the civilization of Kemetian African peoples. And so we're using that term now to symbolize the new beginning of a new economic renaissance in the African community. And many of the persons that are involved, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, myself, we are trying to show the relationship between economic, politics, and culture. And how do we spin this so that we can see how to develop contemporary, today's economic institutions in the communities where we live, so that this $1 trillion that we gave away to our enemies last year, we can turn that around and give it to ourselves and use that to build more businesses and to build the institutions that we want to run our communities.
What do you blame for our economic unity? And the reason why I ask that is because a lot of people will say white supremacy, but white supremacy existed when we created Black Wall Street.
Right.
White supremacy existed when we created a lot of things during segregation.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of people blame integration for it. What would you say is the biggest thing why we can't unite economically?
War. See, what we don't realize is that the white community is at war with us. The Asian community is at war with us. we keep saying, can't we all get along? Everybody's the same. That's not true. All right? Other people understand that there's a competition for the natural resources in the world. And we are not competing. And so what is occurring is that someone else is at war with you and you are not at war with them. You're going to always lose. When we saw the development of Black Wall Street after the end of slavery and coming into the 1900s, we saw the Black Wall Street Greenwood, which was developed in Oklahoma. We saw Black Wall Street Durham, North Carolina, which was actually bigger and more significant than Oklahoma, developed. We saw Black Wall Street in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we owned darn near the whole town, develop. And we saw others, and Rosewood in Florida. And then something happened. Rosewood was burnt down. Greenwood was burnt down. The one in Wilmington, they murdered the people and drove the black folks out of Wilmington, out of town. Durham lasted much longer, but very quietly, and it melted into the rest of Raleigh, the Raleigh-Durham economic thing. But what hurt us most was when we bought into the socialization process. Let me tell you what that is. Socialization is where you get your ideas, your principles, and your concepts on how to live your life, okay? What we call integration was white people, so-called white people, primarily Jewish people, who sold us a perspective on life called integration. See, it wasn't just that word. It was perspective on life called integration that said, partner with us white folks and you're going to be all right. Hadn't been in a hostile relationship with white folks so long and had suffered at the end of it, we were looking for relief, so we were willing to partner thinking we were creating a new humanity. But what happened, we were disarmed in the war. We were disarmed. And so the same people who were asking us to do this was the primary retailers in all black communities across America. The same people who were asking us to do this was the ones who was running the school boards and the schools in our community. The same people who were asking us to do this were the very people who was controlling the music industry. The same people who were asking us to do this was the very people who was controlling the movie industry as it affects us. So these same people were the ones who were the managers of the sports and athletes from the black community. So they're telling us, don't compete with us, integrate with us, but we're running everything. So they're making billions off of us, and we're not making nothing. And what we're saying now, we need to wake up to the reality that it's about ethnicity, okay? You must do for self, as Elijah Muhammad told us, you know. Malcolm said, black nationalism. People say, oh, I don't want to be that. Define black nationalism, Mr. Malcolm X. He said black nationalism is owning the economics, politics, and culture where you live, being in control of economic politics and culture where you live. That sounds like Chinatown to me. That sounds like Williamsburg, Brooklyn to me. Right. That sounds like Little Italy to me. So why it can't be Little Black or Little Africa? You know what I'm saying? If we're going to compete with some people in an economic process, we can't play by rules that's different from the rules that make the game. You can't go on a basketball court with a football in your hand and think you're going to run the 100-yard dash. That ain't going to work. You're going to lose at that basketball game every time. So you got to find out what the rules of the economic game is, and then you have to learn how to play it better than the person that's in the game with you. And what we're learning about economics, at the end of the day, the motivation for economics is the need to provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for ourselves and our family. See, we can talk all this other stuff. Well, I got a degree because I want to go to college. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Why? You want to make money. Why do you want to make money? Because I've got to buy some food. I got to buy some clothing. I got to afford some shelter, and I want to provide safety for my family. So that's the bottom line. And if that is the bottom line, you got to be in control of that. You can't depend on someone else to deliver that to you. And so what Hapi is going to try to show is how to develop black businesses, how to manage black businesses, how to organize black people around the management and the marketing of black economic enterprises where we live, especially in the United States of America, but anywhere in the world we happen to be today. Where we control the retail and the wholesale, that affects us. If you see the little Arabs in our community, you see all Arabs are working in the stores. The guy that comes with that little box truck to deliver the produce to the stores, they're all Arabs. The little warehouse that the box truck picked up from, which is now at the wholesale end of that retail chain, they're all Arabs. That's the way you do it. The problem with that picture is the consumer that's giving all those Arab guys work so they can make money and go home and take care of their families are all black folks. You see? And at the same time, we're giving all those consumer dollars to this community. Our young men and women are standing on the street because there's no store for them to go and get a job in. There's no retail business in the community that they can work in that they own, because other ethnic groups is hiring their own people so that they can provide the food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for themselves. I'm not anti-anybody. We're not anti-anybody. We're just pro-black folks being to feed, clothe, and shelter themselves. And you cannot do this if you're so naive and you're so ignorant, you give the best of your capital away to someone else who's trying to do the same thing for themselves. Brother Rock, you want to follow up on that?
Yeah. What we touching on in the movie Happy is just like what Professor said, a lot of economic development, putting some things together for people to see that they could also do it, because if you can't see it, you can't be it. So we want to show ourselves that we can actually make this thing happen, But like Brother Taki was saying, who was the producer of the film and the executive producer of the film, his whole thing was, if we could put out something that can really focus on economic development, that's what we really need, and have a solution, like showing that here it is, not just discussing it or talking about it, but here's something that we can actually aggregate our black dollar. We can recycle our black dollar. So we have some things that we put in place. We're going to show people, global economics, binary options, foreign exchange. We're going to touch on a lot of these different things, Bitcoin, crypto, because our people need to understand.
Understand these terms, right?
Yeah, they have to understand these terms. So what we're looking to do is add something to the narrative, you know what I mean? Put something in their libraries just so they could actually start entertaining, how to go about doing these things, at least knowing them if they're not going to apply it, at least knowing it. And if they want to apply it, they can do that too. So we're going to start having workshops, be doing seminars, all these different things, to take our knowledge of wealth to a whole nother level. Because like we always say, to have consciousness without money is a tragedy. You know what I mean? At the same time, to have a lot of money without consciousness is also a tragedy. It's a matter of bringing those two worlds together.
Bringing those, I like the way you ended that. Bring those two worlds together, consciousness and money.
Right.
It's always been such a negative stigma with consciousness as far as poor righteous teachers, and the most righteous people are poor. It's looked at like that in our culture. Money is looked at as evil. So subconsciously, our people don't even go after the wealth.
Well, so part of it is this cowardice. I call it cultural cowardice, where it's so much easier to side with the enemy against your own people, because then you don't have to face the wrath of that enemy. And our community haven't been able to make people pay a penalty for betrayal. Okay? Other communities, you betray the Italian community, everybody knows what happens. You understand? You betray the Chinese community, the Tongs will let you know what happened. You betray the Japanese community, the Yakuza will let you know what happened. You betray the Jewish economic community, those brothers there will let you know what's up. You betray the black community, you get rewarded by our enemy and be made into the black leader.
Right,
and so
right.
Because we haven't made consequence a part of the relationship. Then that said, we move back to the economic piece and let people understand that it's not about you. It's about your babies, people. It's about the future generation. It's about your grandchildren. What is it you're going to leave them? Just leaving them some dollars isn't enough, because the drive-by shooter will hit your little baby by accident, okay? So you have to do more than that. You have to create a community that can police itself. You can't do that unless you can compensate the people you want to do the policing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to have a community. When you walk into a market, you want to have quality vegetables. You want to have quality meat if you're into meat. You can't do that unless you control that yourself. And one of the things we have to let our people understand is how you go about opening a business. How do you put together a business plan? How do you open your bank accounts? How do you apply for your licenses? You want a beer license, you want a retail license. How do you go about getting your incorporation to go into business? These are some things that our people, they seem simple enough, but if you don't know it, it's very complicated. And so we have to let our people know there are processes for doing this. It's a shame. I was talking to a brother, I think, in Birmingham the other day, and there's more non-black people running barbershops in the black neighborhood than black people. There's something wrong psychically there. You understand? We're going to Asians to get our nails done, walking past the sister Latoya's beauty shop. Something wrong with that. Something mentally wrong. You'll never see the Asians walking past that Asian shop going to Latoya's shop. Okay? You're not going to see nobody coming from the white community to the black barbershops. Barbershops and beauty parlors are the foundation industry in the black community. You're going to give that up? That tells you something is psychically wrong. You don't know your history. You don't have your self-worth. You don't have self-value. So you can't establish self-interest, and you can't establish the kind of self-control that would allow you to set up the economic basis that will guarantee your grandchildren will have a way of making a living whether they go to college or not. Today, even if you go to college, you're not guaranteed any job, because technology has taken away most of the jobs that people go to college to train for, okay? So you'll find that over 75% of the business in this country that employ people are small businesses with 20 or less employees. You understand me? So if you want to get into what's up, don't try to build what Rockefeller has built. Just build what Jones built down the street. He got a small business. He worked 10 people. You know, another sister got a small business. She worked 15 people. Another one got a small business. They work 5 people. But you do that all over your community, and guess what you're doing? You're controlling all of the wealth that's passing through your hands. And there won't be any unemployment. And if you reduce the unemployment, you reduce the crime. If you reduce the crime by reducing the unemployment and reducing the frustration and the anxiety and the anger and the bitterness that come from not being able to provide food, clothing, shelter for your family and friends, then you reduce the violence and the killing and the going to jail that goes on in our communities. And that's what Hapi is about. Hapi is about shining a light from Kemet symbolically on today. Because we all talk about Kemet, but Kemet isn't just there to make us feel good in remembering it. Kemet is there for us to take an example from. You know, and I'm sitting here speaking as if a small you're a historian. No, I'm also an entrepreneur. Me and Brother Rock, we rolled together for over 8 years and put together $1 million hotel project in Africa called Sana Lodge. And we raised the money out of our own community's pockets. There's 86 of us involved. But we were the lead team. It's called the Sana Lodge. It's a 30-room hotel in Ghana, West Africa, right in the middle of the tourism zone. We've been struggling, but we own it. It's fully paid for. The land is leased for 60 years. It is our package. We are now, and it's been running for 11 years. We're now working hard to develop development capital to take it to the next level, and so we're looking for investors and other things. So we're not just talking. Rock himself is an entrepreneur. He works every day, and he has multiple income streams that he's been developing over the last few years. You know, before I did the hotel thing, I was into the bookstore business. And anybody know me, I've been vending all of my life. I came up with the By Any Means Necessary African t-shirt. That's a patent that belongs to me and Sister Nathan. You know, and we were out there doing t-shirts, but most people didn't know t-shirts was something you could do. So you can develop any type of business you want. You know, I did a little piece on inventions the other day. We said that the black man invented the cell phone. A black woman scientist did the mathematics that allowed white folks to go into outer space. Another black man invented, along with his white partner, the internet. Another black cat from India, a black dude from India too, he invented the email. You know, another brother right here from the U.S., He invented the digital concept that allow you to see a Star Wars and Jurassic Park, all of those things moving around. That's us. So we know we got the capability of doing this. We just have to focus on doing for self rather than begging others. Doing for self rather than begging others. So we need to learn the economic strategy that works for other people. We need to learn the economic skills. We need to know what those economic tools are. And they're not that extraordinary, because if a guy who is running around the desert dealing with camels, with no disrespect, can pop up over here and open a grocery store and a deli in your community the next week, it can't be that difficult, okay? What's difficult is having the tenacity to do it, having the courage, the patience, and the perseverance to learn the basic skills of bookkeeping, which isn't hard. You can even go online and get that now with Intuit and some of the others, but they're learning the basic skills of doing a spreadsheet, to learn the basic skills of how to do the reckoning with your books, to do accounts receivable. They sound like difficult terms, but they're not. And we want to show you how you can do these things, how you can open your business in your own home, how you can open an internet business and make a living for yourself, how we can take the investments in our community, the money that's spent every day, and turn it over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before it goes to another community.
I want to talk about perspective. I think Professor used that word earlier, saying that they sold us a perspective on...
Right. A sense, what happened with integration.
On integration.
Let me give you a good example. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was burnt to the ground. What most people don't know is that the black people of that community went to the courts, went to the Oklahoma Supreme Court. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and guess what? They won most of the cases against the whites of Oklahoma. And guess what they did? They built Black Wall Street, Greenwood, back better than before it was burnt down. Nobody talks about that.
A lot of people don't know that, right?
I've been out there with them. I've marched through the streets with that community. I've been out there to celebrate it with the brothers and sisters out there. Guess what destroyed it? What? Integration. When we psychologically made a decision that what was in a white store was better than what was in a black store.
And that leads me to my question.
Yes, sir. That's why I was trying to work my way back around.
I'm real glad you said that. How do we change? What's the process where we change our perspective or our idea that working for them is better than working for ourselves? And the reason why I say that is that it's kind of looked down upon if you're 18 and you say, you know what, everybody's going to college, and you're like, nah, I'm not going to go to college. I want to open up a store, a corner store. They're like, nigga, you better go to college, nigga. I'm about to go to HBCU. I'm about to go to Temple, or
yeah.
I'm about to, you know what I'm saying?
I'm rolling up in the Hamptons.
I'm gonna get a degree, then I'm gonna get that corporate job making $150,000 a year.
What they need to do is send a letter to my youngest son, who came out of Hampton at the top of his class with his MBA, and took him 7 years to find a gig in New York. Okay, and let me tell you how he found a gig. He was doing part-time stuff all over the place, right? Just trying to make a hustle, trying to make a living, right? He was getting ready to go back and do the gangster thing. You know, I worked hard to get him away from that, right? And then he called the brother who was a black self-made millionaire who had his own business, who never been to college. I doubt if Butch finished high school, a brother named Butch Lewis. He had interned with Butch while he was in Hampton, and he called and said, Mr. Lewis, I've been out here looking for a job. And Butch said, boy, if you're serious, get on a train and come down here to Delaware, and I'll interview you at home. He went down to Delaware to Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis hired him, a black businessman who started up as a small businessman and became a millionaire. Took him on and taught him how to be a businessman, you know. Most people do not go to college. Most people that own businesses have not been to college. Most people that own the major corporations in the country have not been to college. You go to college to train to work for people who own business. You don't go to college to learn to own business. Let me say that again.
Please,
you go to college to train to work for people who own businesses. You do not go to college to learn how to own businesses. Okay?
Big difference.
A big difference. And so the socialization process I was talking about goes back to when integration, Brown versus the board. Before Brown versus the board, look at the education of blacks in America. We were the highest in science. We were the highest in math. You know, we were extraordinary in reading. Something happened after Brown versus the board, and the education of black kids was taken over by the same white people who were our enemies and who were fighting us. What began to happen? Everything went downhill. So that we were no longer prepared, not only academically, but we weren't prepared psychologically to take care of ourselves the way we should. And so when it even comes to our history, history provides you with two key things: self-value and self-worth. Self-worth and self-value provides you with self-esteem, you know? And self-esteem allow you to define your relationship to everything around you. Dr. Wade Noble says power is the ability to define your reality and have other people accept your definition of your reality as if it were their own. And self-esteem and self-value and self-worth give you the ability to do that. Self-esteem, self-value, and self-worth comes from knowing who you are. Knowing who you are come from knowing your history, you see. And so that's why we say economic, politics, and culture. It's tied together.
And you know, it's funny, I would see, you know, years ago I would see Rock in Brooklyn, and we was both vending. I had a table on Fulton Street, and one of the things I noticed,
you were both sidewalk entrepreneurs.
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
Throw the vending on you were entrepreneurs. You just didn't have the overhead that the other folks had.
Right, and one thing I noticed with our people and the mentality of our people is that, you know, there were several times when, you know, somebody might get mad when they come by your spot and they say, "Oh, get a real job." And in my mind, I'm like, what the hell is a real job? So we have this idea that
the slave mentality. If you're not working for Martha,
if you're not working for
Martha, you ain't working.
Even if what we do online, people say, "Why don't these guys get a real job?" And in my mind, I'm like,
but they don't tell the guy that owns Facebook that.
Right, get a real.
You know what I'm saying? They don't tell him to get a real job. Right?
So that leads me, you know, and you did a wonderful job explaining, you know, going into that, Professor James Smalls. I want to talk about expectations. Bill Cosby used to go on these rants where he would just get on the middle class and poor black people and tell them, poor black people in the class, you need to step your game up. Stop being so MF and lazy. Get up off your ass. Pull up your pants, young black man. You got to work hard. You got to get out there and get it. People who don't have a lot of money have expectations for millionaires. Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan. These coon-ass niggas ain't doing nothing. They not invested in our community. They hanging with white people. They messing with all these white women. So it's like both sides. When the black people that don't have money have these expectations for the black people that do have money, the black people that do have money have expectations for the black people that don't have money.
It comes back to consciousness.
Go ahead.
That word that's so misused and so maligned and so abused by such sick and crazy persons. Consciousness means to be aware of your reality in the moment of its happening. Mm-hmm. You understand? To be aware of your reality means I'm aware of what's going on around me. I'm aware of what's affecting my life. Of that effect, I'm conscious. I'm aware of what brought me to this moment. I'm aware of the information, the history that led me to where I'm standing now. And I'm instructed and informed by my history who my friends are and who my enemies are. That's consciousness. Now, if you're there, then the next step is do for self rather than begging for it. And the best way to do for self is to make sure that you control the economic, politics, and cultural basis where you live. That means you're the primary retailer and wholesaler for the things you retail.
This is the question, Professor James Smalls. Mm-hmm. If I say I got $1 million I raked in $1 million in 2016. Brother Rich raked in a cool $1 million. I'm feeling good. How much am I obligated to give back to my community? Because people in the community will expect you to give back a certain amount. So this is what happens. The person that has the $1 million gives back a certain amount. The community tells that person, that ain't good enough, nigga. You just made $1 million. You driving this, you driving that.
Well, see,
we need to see a little bit more.
How do we
figure out what's enough?
I view that differently.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think you're obligated to give back a damn penny of your money.
Go on.
Okay.
See, this is what we need to talk about. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother.
The only obligation I have is to show you how to make $1 million.
How to make $1 million.
Okay. I'll have the obligation as a member of that community to show you how to make $1 million, or to get you involved in my $1 million making process. But I'm not obligated to give my $1 million to you, because and that's part of that white mentality, that slave mentality that we're in, that almost welfare mentality that they're forced on us, that we're expecting somebody to give us something.
To save us.
No. Well, nobody's going to save us but us. And the best thing I can give is the ideas that I found that works for me. I can give them to you and show how it can work for you. Okay? So you can then take those ideas and give it to somebody else and show it how it can work for them. And then we won't become predators on one another. Right. See, that's that crab in the barrel thing. In the barrel. And that,
parasites.
And so both sides are guilty. Now, Oprah has done some good things to her credit. Bill has done some good things. I don't know anything Michael has done except play ball. But I know Bill Cosby, despite the crisis Bill is in and even some of that crazy stuff Bill was saying, he did some good things in the community. Him and his wife, Sister Camille, they gave millions and millions back to the black community.
Yeah, colleges.
Not just the colleges. They were the one that gave the money to save Dr. Clark's collection.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'm glad you said that.
That was Camille Cosby, right. And they did other kinds of things, but they were on the down low with it, and they was cool with it because they know the enemy would roll up on them if they know they were doing stuff like this. But at the same time, Bill knows he could have said the things he said differently. Some of the critique was necessary, but there's a way to do that critique. But many people don't know, and even though Cosby comes from what we call the hood, you get out there in that other world too long, you forget about the hood that you came from. Meaning, what I mean by the hood is the values and the reality that people have to live, and the things we have to go up against every day, economically and politically, in those communities. And so I think one of the biggest things that those who've made considerable money in our community is that they've not come back and invested in businesses and institutional enterprises. For example, there's a place called East St. Louis, 90% black, beautiful land, yet it's one of the most depressed communities in America. Why isn't it the Mecca of black America? Why haven't the black people with the wealth bought it up and built it up? Make it their Mecca, instead of going to live in the white man's suburban Mecca. Make it yours. That kind of thinking, that's how we built Black Wall Street in Tulsa and in Durham and in Wilmington. The black people who had money and resources didn't run away from the community. They created the environment that they wanted within that community. And that allowed the community to thrive and to grow, because you had something to aspire for. What if Oprah's mansion was in Queens? You know what I'm saying?
And that's a big problem. The black people with money that leave the community. Well, I don't want to say it's a problem on their behalf, but it's a problem in general.
No, it's a problem both ways.
And the reason why I say that is because they feel as though, well, I can't live in a black community. Niggas that try to rob me.
Right.
So it's like
change it.
The children don't get to see that example.
Right.
And once again, we pointing fingers.
Because the ones with the money don't have the consciousness. They don't have the knowledge of self. You don't run. Where does the Jews live in Brooklyn? The wealthy Jews haven't run away. Mm-hmm. They're in Williamsburg. Mm-hmm. They're in all the different places there with their people. They've took those old broken down houses and created townhouses. They've created centers. They've created all sorts of things with that money for their people. And the reason they're able to do this is because they have a concept we don't have. We call ourselves black, but that is a meaningless word. We call ourselves African, it's a meaningless word. We call ourselves African American, it's a meaningless word, because we don't have a definition of what the relationship is that should come from using the label. Let me say that one again.
Please.
We don't have a definition of what the relationship is that comes from using the label African, African American, or black. We call ourselves black as a labeling process, but we don't call ourselves black as a nation process. Okay? When I say black, I should mean I'm addressing members of a nation. I'm addressing members of a community that believe as I do and want to build as I do. We have not established that yet, because most of us still are worshiping white gods. If you're worshiping a white god, you're worshiping a white man. Anybody understands that God is nothing more than the force and power that has control over your daily lives. Now, if you got another God, it should release you from that shit. And if you haven't been, then you got to know who the God really is. And if you worshiping white gods, and some of them run from the white God and they become Buddhists and they go worshiping Asian gods, and they say, oh, well, you know, Buddha was really black. Well, that was back in the day. He white now. He yellow now. You need to get on back down to black, okay? So let's come down to black gods. We said we Africans. Let's go to the Juju then. Let me learn about voodoo then. Let me learn about Yoruba then. Let me learn about Akan then. Let me learn about Kemet then. How did our ancestors look at divinity? And divinity becomes important because it's the highest possibility any mind can conceive of for itself. See, God is the thing you aspire to most. And if your God is your enslaver, you're in trouble. Okay? So if your God sells you pork chops and beer and say salam alaikum, you're in trouble. Okay? So you need a God that resembles you. You need a God you can aspire to with a possibility of becoming. And we haven't gotten there yet. We're still afraid to be black beyond the word black. Let's be black to the habit of being black, you know? And you won't get that unless you know your history. You must learn history. You must learn culture, you know? You must learn spirituality. And spirituality isn't just saying, I got a feel-good thing, or I'm going to get a reading, and somebody gave me some necklaces to wear. No, that's not spirituality. Is your being in touch with your reality on a second-by-second basis. Spirituality is your interaction consciously with your reality and the result of that conscious interaction with your reality. And your reality involves your ecology, cosmology, and your environment. And what is the relationship between you and those things? Cosmology, meaning all those things we call outer space. Ecology means all the environment around us and the nature around us. We know that the human body, I'm just break this down for a quick second because this is economics. Human body is made up of over 400 plus minerals or elements, right? We get those mineral and elements from where? Plants and animals and fish and fowl and birds, right? And so that's the rest of nature, right? Without the rest of nature, we can't even compose ourselves. So what is the relationship then between us and the rest of nature? What should that relationship be? And who defines those rules and regulations? The white man, the Asian man, or the black man? You understand what I'm saying? That's why knowing history becomes important. Because in your history, you'll see how your ancestors defined those relationships. That's why people get caught up on Jesus. They don't know why they caught up on Jesus or caught up on the virgin mother and the child, because the white man, when they copied that from Kemet, when they were looking at goddess Aset and Heru, but what they always left out is we had an Asar there, a father. It was a father, mother, and child. And that was the African symbol for God. Africa did not have a woman for God. It did not have a man for God. It had a man, woman, and child as its symbol. That the only way you will know divinity is you got to have this relationship here. And it produces the hero, Heru, who will save the world. That's the next generation. Got to know culture, got to know history in order to stabilize yourself so you can do for self, produce the economic, politics, and culture necessary to provide the food, clothing, shelter, and safety that is absolutely necessary for your survival.
Let me pick
Brother
back
Rod.
on what the professor was saying, and the question you asked about people wanting you with that $1 million to come give them a portion of that, whether it's 40%, 50%, even more. A lot of times we don't take accountability in our own community as just grown folk, you know what I mean? So we always want somebody to come and save us. If you from the hood, you went out, you made it, you need to come back and bring us that money. All right, I could do that. I'm gonna do better than that. Like Professor said earlier, I'm gonna show you how to get it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna just get it myself and then drive around and floss and look at you while you hungry, starving, and all of that. I'm gonna show you how to come get this. But now it's up to you to come on in here and, yo, let's get involved, let's get busy. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta take action. You know what I mean? Again, you gotta take responsibility. So, again, just, hopping on what we were talking about with the film Happy, just thinking about the origin of it, Taki kept saying to me, yo, Rock, we need to do something, we need to do work. Because, Taki done did like 2-3 films already. He did Nubia in 07, he did Tekken in 09. So he was like, yo, Rock, we need to do something. I'm like, you know what? If we do something, it gotta be economics, man. Everything else is good, it's getting touched on and that's great, but what's being left out is economics. So he was like, all right, bet. So it wasn't until like a year and a half ago, he was like, yo, listen, I heard what you're saying, man, we definitely need to do something. He came to me, gave me a call, yo, I gotta join, Hapi, H-A-P-I, broke it down what it was. I was like, yeah, and then also with Hapi, who come actually before the deities of Asar, Set, Heru, you have, Hapi, Bes. Bes is another deity from the Nile Valley civilization, talking about fortune, prosperity, you know what I mean? Protector of the children, protector of the house. So all these different deities that we forgot about that we don't touch on now because we mainly focus on the popular ones of Asar, Set, Heru, Hathor and things like that. He was like, yo, we're gonna bring some more information to our people and let them understand how to work it today, how it was back then and how we could pump it out today and how we could appreciate those principles and make our community much better. So that's what this whole Happy movement is about. So it's more than just a movie, there's also a movement.
I definitely look forward to seeing this film. It's sounding good, especially this conversation that we're having on economics. Tell me about the cast. Who's involved in this film, and what are they bringing?
Yeah, man, we got some good ones, man. We got Dr. Malavo, economist. We have Sister Rocketti, Dr. Wright from BMCC, historian, man. Actually, she went to Tuskegee Institute, Tuskegee University out in Alabama. And she's bringing a lot of information about Booker T. Washington and his impact. A lot of people sleep on Booker T, but they don't know without Booker T, there would really be no Marcus Garvey. And that's something else she's going to be, dropping science on. Of course, the living legend himself, Professor James Smalls, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and the thing, too, is we want to give them heartbeat props. You know what I mean? We got to, start giving respect to the living, man. So that's one of the things at the event that we're having on January 28th and on February 18th at Mesos and also in Queens. The event is, going to have the panel discussion. There's going to be some networking. There's going to be a screening, some of the film. And, we invite people to come out, man. Get your tickets now. Go to happyfilms.com, get your tickets now, and come on out, man. Let's do some networking. Let's really get busy, man, because that's one of the things that's being left out but need to be, brought into it. You know what I mean? And people really recognize that economics is something that we really need to really hop on. That's something that's been ignored, but a major missing piece to the puzzle.
What would you say to somebody, because everybody, one person might say, well, how black people going to do it? One person may say economics is the most important thing. Somebody may hear you say that and say, you know what? Spirituality is the most important thing. Right. Somebody may hear the person with spirituality say, no, revolution is the most important thing. We need, F all of that, praising Osiris, we need to go to war. So, once again, it's like so many ideologies. How do we mix economics with spirituality and everything else?
I'm glad you asked that question, man, because that's one of the things I was talking to Taki about, and I was saying that, all parts of the body have to be fed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything needs to be addressed. And so economics, politics, culture, as Professor was, just touching on, the history, the culture, the spirituality. We always talking about, health, wealth, and spiritual development. You know what I mean? All that needs to be addressed, all needs to be touched on. But what we're saying here with this particular film is that economics is always left out. You might have some people come talk about it, say, yeah, we got to build some businesses, we got to get economics, and then that'd be it. So it might get like 2 minutes of recognition, and then we start getting into a whole bunch of other things. So we want to just keep this on the lips and on the tongue of our people and in the minds of our people, that this is just as important as anything else that we're discussing. And there's nothing more revolutionary, you know what I'm saying, on a certain level of having economic power. You know what I mean? Economic development. You know what I mean? And that starts affecting how your politics roll. You know what I mean? How other politicians, you know what I'm saying, interact with you as a community. That also has an effect on your culture. You know what I mean? So again, economics, politics, culture, and how Professor broke it down before was that your ecology is a reflection on your economics. Economics is a science. You know what I mean? It's really a science. So when we begin to see that where economics come from, it come out of the word ecology, which is your environment. So what you're working with in your environment is going to help you to build your economics. And right now, one of the greatest things in our ecology is internet, is technology.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we need to recognize that. Like, you know, we was talking about before, foreign exchange and binary options and bitcoins and all that. You can roll up out of your bed 7, 8 o'clock in the morning in your pajamas, jump right on your computer and start trading currency. You know, there's $4 trillion a day traded in just foreign currency every day. That's something that we need to tap into. These are things that we need to add to our narrative. These are things that we need to add to our repertoire. It's just something that we need to know so that we could apply this and, you know what I mean, start really doing some real building, man. It's not just on a personal, but it's also a collective. You know what I mean? So if we're going to take responsibility, we got to start building on a collective level, man.
You know,
if people want to truly understand what economics is, ask yourself, what did you spend your money on for the last month?
That's real.
And with whom did you spend that money? And how much money did you spend? You bought food, you bought clothes, you paid rent. Doesn't matter where you got the money from, whether you got it from working for the municipality or being on social service or got it from a loan or wherever you got that money from, you spent it somewhere. And when the people you spent it with used it for something. So you ask your question, when all your money is gone to this other person, what would have happened had you spent that money differently with your cousin, with your friend, with your nephew, with your son, with your daughter? And because now you need access to a loan, the money that you spend with them was put in a bank that is owned by black folks who understands the relationship, and now you need a loan because you need to fix your house. Well, if you gave that money to these other communities who put it in other banks that's owned by them, history has shown the likelihood of your getting that loan is almost nil. And if you did get it, the interest was going to kill you. So just look at where you spend your money. If you want to understand the value of economics, just look at if you couldn't afford food, if you couldn't afford shelter, if you couldn't afford the clothing to wear, if you couldn't afford to send your children to school, etc. All of those funds that you spent with strangers who have no respect for you, who wouldn't urinate on you if you was on fire, you gave them your hard-earned money, but your brother is on the corner because he can't find a job, you know? And the chances are, you hang on that corner long enough, he's going to get a felony conviction for something. And then he really can't find a job. And then the drug's going to come in, and the alcohol's going to come in. Then the violence going to come in. And then maybe death is going to come in. That's not always the scenario, but too often it's the scenario. And it results from not having an economic foundation in the community that these people can participate in. So think of economics in terms of just that 1 penny you spent. Think of economics in terms of the nickel. Think of economics in terms of the quarter, the dime, the dollar. Whatever you do with that, it enriches someone somewhere. And if you want to make sure that it enriches you, then you have to create enterprises in your community that's owned by you and the people that look like you and the people that are related to you and the people that believe as you do. And that's what Hapi is going to try to show you in many different ways with many different scholars to show you how these things were done in the past, how it could be done in the future, what are some of the opportunities in the future now that exist, what are some of the technical possibilities that now exist that we can fully participate in. So Hapi is introducing you to a whole new economic reality. I think in Hapi, then I'm going to hand it back to Brother Rock, Dr. Leonard Jeffries said, economic is to ecology what politics, which manages your economic, is to sociology, and sociology, politics is to sociology what culture is to spirituality, you know, because it gives you your values, interests, and principle. So the economics is managed by the politics, and the politics gets its ethical information from the culture. And so that's what we're looking at here.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, you know, with the whole thing of us having a way of recycling our dollar, you know what I mean? Because people always say, well, you know, how can we actually do that in a practical way? So we actually have a platform and we actually have a system where we can actually do just that. We can actually keep recycling our dollar and, you know, showing how our dollar could keep coming back to us and us, you know, building on our economics within what we have, you know, because we have a lot. I mean, if we're $1 trillion nation, I think we more than that now. We're spending more than $1 trillion a year as far as our spending power. So what we're looking to do is to put something together in a practical sense. We can keep on aggregating our dollar and recycling our dollar. I mean, you guys just think about it. Just think about the penny, the power of 1 penny. And I ask this question all the time. If you just take 1 penny and double it every day for 30 days, what would happen? What would you get from 1 penny that doubled every day for 30 days? And actually, the answer is you would get $5,368,709.12. So that's over $5 million exactly. So you're looking at how that 1 penny is doubling. So, you know, you got first day 1 penny, second day 2, third day 4, 8, 16, 32. So as that's moving on, you begin to see that amongst us as a people, we can actually aggregate or recycle our money and have our money grow. That's exponential growth. That's the compound effect. Actually, in ancient Kemet, they called it the golden means, where things would just grow exponentially. You know, from out of 1, it's from 2, and then 3, and so we gotta understand that we have the power ourselves. I mean, you know, we have it. You know what I'm saying? It's right here within us. I mean, we all we need and we all we got, and there you have it, man.
I wanna ask. You know, I'm enjoying this. It's very inspirational to talk about economics in this manner and talk about 2 brothers that's doing it. And I want to ask a genuine question that I know a lot of people out there might have. A lot of people may see a shirt that says "Be Your Own Boss," and this is something that's going on in their mind. It sounds good. As far as economics, Black Wall Street sound real good. Everything we're talking about sounds great. It's very inspirational. People will leave this interview being inspired to do something, but then about a month from now, doubt will creep in their mind. And what usually happens is that they think about security, and they're like, you know what? I want to do my own thing, but damn, man, the job I got offers a 401k. They offer a retirement plan. I work for myself. I don't know where I'm going to be 20 years from now. I need some security. My wife that I'm with, she wants security. So a lot of people stay on the jobs for security. So for those, and this is something that I had to deal with when I first became an entrepreneur, the whole security aspect. Talk to the people that are scared, which is a legitimate reason to be scared to open up your own business, about the aspect of security and owning your own business.
Yeah, yes, sir, absolutely. You know, that's a real good question. I tell people all the time, before you quit your job, you know, there's actually a title of a book, Before You Quit Your Job. But I always tell people, before you quit your job, you know what I mean, make sure you know what you want to do. You know what I mean, as far as being an entrepreneur and setting up your own business and doing your own thing. So, you know, you could still have that dream that you want to fulfill as far as having your own business, having your own time, having your own financial freedom, your own time freedom, you know. But we're not telling you to go quit your job today and don't, you know, go bounce and go do that. You know, you can maintain one. You could be working on your entrepreneurship full-time, you know, part-time, and, you know, doing your job full-time till you get to a point where your business is able to take care of you, even more so than the job that you had. you know what I mean, or have currently. You know what I mean? So absolutely, I think that it's a legitimate question and a serious concern. However, what we're looking to do with Happy, with the workshops and things like that, is we're actually going to show you the importance of having a home-based business, the importance of having your own brick and mortar, you know what I'm saying, whatever you want to do, and just the tax advantages of having that, you know what I mean, is like somebody with a home-based business, like their tax is like 12 to 18%, you know what I mean, with somebody who works is like, 40 to 50%, you know what I mean, maybe a little less, but my whole thing is we need to definitely understand that it could be done. And that, we're going to show you. You know what I mean? We got, like I said, workshops, seminars. We have a lot of people that's already doing it. You know what I mean? They try testing and true. They're making it happen, and they're going to also share that with the people.
And everyone's not going to own their own business. That's not the mindset or the skills. We're talking to those who are able to and who want to. And then we're talking with those who don't have jobs. Owning your own business is another way of developing an economic income for yourself. And this is not just about you. Owning your own business is how you end up owning your community. Owning your community is how you end up stopping crime, stopping drugs, stopping bad education, stopping police brutality. See, if you own the stores in your community, you control the cops in your community. You control the firemen in your community. You control who becomes firemen and who becomes cops in your community. But you have to own it. Right now, the people who own our communities don't live in our communities. The money they make, they don't bank in our communities. They don't invest it in our communities. And when the cops come to our community, they see the cops as coming as a protection for them against us. And so if you want to change those dynamics, then you have to change your economic dynamics. And if owning a business isn't what you are about, then help someone else in your family, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your friend's son, your daughter. There are many businesses in our community that should be owned by the people of that community. You should get your hair cut from someone from your community. You should go to a beauty shop from someone from your community. You should get your nails done by someone from the community. Those are thousands of jobs for the young people in our communities. You should go to a supermarket that's owned, whether it's a co-op supermarket or whether it's a privately owned supermarket, by someone from that community who's sensitive and hiring people from that community and making sure there's quality products in that community. You want to go to a furniture store that is going to give you the kinds of terms and business arrangements that make sense for you in order for you to be able to furnish your home. And if it's owned by somebody from the community and the people in the community work in there, your whole relationship to that business and what they will do for you and you can do for them will be different. The same thing for the bank. If the bank in your community was owned by the people in that community, meaning you were the primary investors, then you can determine what the policy of that bank was going to be in terms of giving loans and mortgages to that community. So economic control of your life is the only common sense way to live. Any other way to live, you're a slave to some other ethnic group and subject to their abuse and their misuse, as we are today in most of the communities we live in. We come and say, they sold me this. We come and say, they called the police on me. We say, they arrested our child, because you're not in control of anything. And unless you have the economic control, you can't have the social control or the political control. It's as simple as that. Economic politics, and the credit union is really not that difficult. We don't see a lot of them in the black community, but when you go to the white community, you see the Slavic credit union, you see the Italian community credit union, you see the Jewish credit union, you see the Hispano, that credit union. Everybody have credit unions in their community, and it served them well. And to open one is not as difficult as you think. You can go online and go to the government websites and find out how to open a credit union. The government will actually train you for free to establish a credit union and show you the step-by-step process for doing it. We all spend money. tens of thousands that leads to trillions of dollars every year, hundreds of billions of dollars every year. So let's aggregate that money. Let's bring it together. Let's let that money marry each other and create a whole nother reality. So we can walk in our house and you don't have to worry about drive-by shooting. You can walk out of your house and don't worry about who's going to sell the drugs to your kids today. You can walk out of your house and know that when you call the policeman, he's coming not to kill you, but to protect you. But you can determine these things if you have the economic control over the areas in which you live. And Hapi is going to show you this. And one of the things I'm sure if we didn't get into it, we will get into it. Before you even think of doing a business, you want to think of a business plan. And you can actually go online and put in business plan. And you will see multiple business plans that you can look on the website and study. And if you come up with a good business plan, that's the foundation to the next step you have to do, finding the capital to open that business that you've planned. So, Brother Rick.
It's wonderful, brother. Leave the people information about this networking event and NYC 2-day tour you got coming up, as well as anything they could expect in terms of the documentary Hapi.
Yeah. The 2-day tour here in New York is going to be January 28th at Maisels, 6 o'clock, from 6 to 10. That's Maisels Cinema and Lenox Avenue, Malcolm X Boulevard here. And we have it on February 18th in Queens at the JPAC, at the Arts Center. So you can get tickets. You can go to happyfilm.com/events. I know Rich, you're going to put it on the site. Could put the link there. And, get your tickets. The tickets is already moving real fast, so you definitely want to get your tickets and, definitely come through. There's a fundraiser, because we still, doing some things with the film, putting some last touch-ups on the film. We got a lot of recordings, a lot of the interviews, but we're doing some final touch-ups. So we definitely appreciate people coming out to support. As far as the film is concerned, it should be coming out sometime in March, April this year. We're going hard body with it, so definitely, keep in touch. Happy Film, happyfilm.com is you're going to get all the information, anything you want. Like I said, as far as tickets, as far as, the GoFundMe, you can go there also too and support us on the GoFundMe. But yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to have a panel discussion with some of the people from the film. Wade Noble, Professor Smalls, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Malavo. We have about 16 people in the film, but we're going to have some of the people at the event doing the panel discussion. And there's also going to be a networking event too, man, because we want people to come out and come network. Whether you have a business or not, whether you think about doing something, whether you want to just come out and support brothers and sisters that are doing something, definitely come on out, do some networking, bring your business cards, what I'm saying? If you want to learn how to get business cards made up, you want to get some ideas, just got to come out and mingle, come out and be with us. But yeah, definitely, January 18th in Harlem, February 18th at JPAC in Queens, and go to the site, get your tickets. It's going to be a phenomenal event. It's definitely going to love it, for sure.
Yeah, in my conclusion, I'm going to do the entrepreneurial thing. We not only have a hotel in Ghana, we do tours to Ghana. It's got our organization. It's called Cultural Heritage African Tours. And you can reach us at csmall1926@aol.com. csmall1926@aol.com. We do tours in the spring. We have one going from March 1st to the 11th. We have another tour going to Benin, Ghana, Togo, and Morocco in July. So, and Cultural Heritage African Tours, which is a partner with the Sana Lodge Enterprise Ghana Limited, is a part of our putting our, what they call that, putting our mouth, our words where our mouth is, or how's that? Putting our money where our mouth is. We put our money there, over $1 million, and it's working. So we're not just people talking, we are entrepreneurs telling you that we've been successful from our enterprise as street entrepreneurs to going into bigger enterprising. So thank you very much, Brother Rich. And thank you, Brother Rock, for hanging out with me and Brother Rich. And thank me and Brother Rich for hanging out with Brother Rock.
Definitely, it was definitely an honor. Yeah, definitely for sure.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, Rich.
I think this film is going to be big, man. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to go to the NYC 2-day tour. And I want to thank you brothers for coming on the platform. And I know we're going to do some stuff in the future. If you want more information, if you want to see the flyer more, because I think I put 2 flyers in the beginning. At the beginning and the ending of every video for this month, you will see information about the Happy film along with the website and anything else you need to see on there. But thanks for coming on the program. Peace to the family. Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to see you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Peace, family. This is Brother Rich from UGR, urging all my viewers and subscribers to help support the channel by donating just $1 to the UGR PayPal account. We appreciate the viewership and support, and we understand the power of $1. If you benefit in any way, shape, or form, we ask that you donate $1, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, so that we can build our brand to compete with the NBCs, the MTVs, and the Foxes of the world. I figure since Kanye could ask Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion, I could ask my subscribers to donate $1 so I could make the best possible content possible. The main objective of this channel is to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. So hopefully throughout the years of you watching this program, you have been inspired to become the greatest version of yourself. If you would like to donate, you could go to www.paypal.com and send a donation to richandmerit7@yahoo.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your program.
Purple like Prince, Prince. Red and blue, purple like Prince, Prince. Red and blue, purple like Prince.
Charges of federal orders, incredible markers, indelible sparkers, immeasurable. Sparking the medical carcass on pedestal, sharks for that revenue, hawks for what's edible. Heart full of vegetables, art at the festivals, heart no cholesterol, sharp on those episodes. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. Go independent like Prince. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. I like when summer begins. Whoa, I'm on 100%. 100. Red and blue, purple like Prince.
Anthem on the track.
Yeah. Yeah. King shit. Yeah. Yeah. Look. I'm from the city where the bums rich. Skyscrapers block the rays when the sun hits. One time coming, niggas run quick. By the time a baby walk, he got a gun grip. I was made for this. 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 I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this. I was made for 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 this. I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this.
They don't know fact from fiction. They don't know the blacks is missing. They don't know they trapped in prison. They don't know the path to prison was a math decision. They don't know the wrath is quickened. They don't know the ass they kissing on the path of mission to put their ass in prison. They don't know black religion, fact and fiction. They don't know mama didn't leave them niggas half the kitchen with half a chicken. Fact or fiction. We still hot, we still noble. Red and blue pill global. No matter the language, we still moguls. We lost Gil Scott, then we lost Gil Noble. Exercise the right to live like it is. The revolution will not be televised, it's being digitized. On the come up, it's like watching the midget rise. Sleeping giants grow another 20 feet tall with each alliance. I can teach the science, I tear an instrumental down before I lay my pencil down. I'm going down to Tinseltown to burn the temples down and cap it off like dental crowns. And my rights still reserved. Fear of a black Illuminati. I might just build with the Bilderberg to come and kill you nerds. I'm shining like a Grammy host on the shores of Miami coast. My Moringa plug looking like Sammy Sosa. The old one when he was well done like Granny's roast. The ancestors sponsor this. I don't know them niggas, all they do is talk that conscious shit. We living it, we in the streets like House of Consciousness. KTL in the ATL, MIA, NYC. Multi-dimension like MIB. We are not the same, I am a sovereign. We are not the same, I am a problem.
I was made for this, I was made for this, I was made for this, I was made for this. I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this. I was made for this, I was made for this, I was made for this, I was made for this. I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this.